Hey there, how you doing? It's Ashley Kennedy, your favorite Chief Empowerment Officer. Now, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever just come out of a meeting looking the way I look? Just looking tired, looking exhausted, just trying to figure out what happened to your hours? Have you ever spent like 5 hours in a meeting and you come out just feeling like your entire day was wasted and nothing was accomplished? Right. Me too. But today, I want to give you some tips that can help you with that. I want to go over some things that I've done in the past, and I'm hoping that they'll help you too. So, if they do, you can actually leave a comment and you can let me know. So, let's jump into it for today, shall we? So, first things first. When it comes to meeting duration, I try to keep all meetings to 1 hour long. The only times where they are longer than that is if they are planning meetings or if they are working meetings, which means you're actually doing work and getting things done during the meeting. Other than that, I try to keep all meetings to 1 hour long because otherwise your attention span is going and your day just kind of starts to drift away. So that's the first thing I want to say. Now, next, moving on to something very important, which is the agenda. So, it's very important that you have the agenda because it sets the course and the flow for how your meeting is going to go. Now, with your agenda, it's a way that you can set it up, and we'll jump into that a little bit later. However, when you have an agenda, if at all possible, send it out to your staff, to your team, at least a day ahead of time, which will give everyone attending the meeting the opportunity to mentally prepare for what's coming up. But also, if there's any information or any type of preparation that's needed, everyone can be ready because they have the agenda ahead of time. So everyone will have an idea what to be prepared for and pretty much to brace themselves or just be prepared, just depending on what all is going on. So I want to start there with the agenda. Now, moving on to the flow of the agenda. Now, this is very important because there's a way that you can set your agenda up to keep the flow going, making sure that you hit and discuss what you need to talk about without totally wearing everybody out mentally. Because meetings can be kind of draining. There can be a lot of content that happens. So, there's a way that you can prepare. So, let's talk about that a little bit. So, the first thing that I would suggest is starting off very light. So, what I mean by starting off light, that means with the icebreaker or just with a question or just catching up. So, for example, we're just coming back from Christmas break or from holiday break, I should say. So, a lot of different offices were closed. So, you can just merely ask, hey, how was your break? Did you do anything fun? Did you do anything exciting? Did you do anything interesting? So, just some small talk, just to kind of get things going, to kind of break the ice a little bit, just depending on what your culture is like, what the meeting is like. That's helping to start off light. Now, after you go from there, you can begin to dive into the heavier items on your agenda. So, your heavier content. So, for example, I'm currently preparing for a meeting where we're talking about overall vision and mission. Now, those different things can be very meaty, very heavy, okay? So you want to keep your meatier items, your heavier items in the middle of the meeting because you've already eased your way in by starting off light. And that way, when it's time to get to the heavier items, it brings focus in so everyone can begin talking and diving in to the heavier things that need to be addressed. And lastly, when it comes to the agenda, you also want to end on a light note because sometimes agendas and meetings can get very heavy, very intense. But remember, after people leave their meeting, you're going back to your normal everyday tasks at your job or going somewhere else. So you always want to end on a good note. You can end with some affirmations. By saying affirmations, you can end by saying what it is that you're excited about. depending on whatever your company culture is, your ministry, what are you looking forward to? So these are some different ways that you can just wrap up. You can wrap up with some encouragement, which is also good because it just gives you the opportunity to leave off on a good note. So where people may not be frustrated once they leave from your presence, where they leave from this meeting. This will help continue to keep up with office and ministry productivity, personal productivity, because you're ending on a high note as opposed to a low one. You're leaving people encouraged and strengthened and built up as opposed to downtrodden. Another way that you can end is by asking if there's anything that anyone needs, any type of resources or support to help them achieve the task that they have to work on. So that's something else. So moving on. When you are going through your agenda, you want to stick to the agenda. Again, stick to the agenda. It's so easy to go up on these rabbit trails that go on and on and on and on for minutes. They can even go on for hours if you let it. So you want to keep a good control, a good flow of the meeting, which is the purpose of the facilitator, to be able to ring everybody back in so you can stay on task. Very important to stick to the agenda because otherwise it's too much information and you're trying to figure out, why am I really here? So make sure you stick to the agenda. Okay. Now, a way that you can stick to the agenda is by assigning a parking lot. And the purpose of the parking lot is to where if there's a topic or an item that comes up and it's not necessarily on the agenda, but it's something that still needs to be discussed, you can put it in the parking lot. You can simply write whatever the topic is on a little post-it note or on paper for someone who's taking notes and just put it to the side. And you can always bring that topic or topics back up in another meeting. This helps to keep you focused and on task with everything that you really need to be talking about there in the meeting. You want to avoid all of the rabbit trails. Those can be very frustrating to people, okay? So hold on to that. Moving on, after the parking lot, you want to think about if what you have to say, what's on your agenda, can this be discussed in a private meeting? Does the entire staff need to know? Can it be an email? So you want to know the difference between your different audiences. Is this a 1 to 2 person conversation? Is this for the entire staff? Or can it be an email? So for example, if you're planning an event, you're planning a party or something like that, do you need to call all 150 people to a meeting to ask what flavor of cake you need? No, that's an email, or that's you talking to 1 to 2 other people just to finalize a detail. You don't want to waste people's time because time is actually very expensive. So know what you actually need to put on the agenda and what can be discussed in another format. Very important. That keeps people from being worn out and also frustrated. I know we've seen different memes about that where the meeting could have been an email and things like that. But that's very real. So definitely keep that in mind as you host your different meetings. Now, the last thing that I want to say is, as you're meeting, you want to make sure that you are assigning action steps. Now, this is how you make sure that you are leaving with a sense of purpose and accomplishment. Because with these action steps, you're saying what needs to be done, who needs to be doing it, and also you are assigning a deadline to it, okay? So again, action steps. What needs to be done, who is doing it, who's assigned to it, and the deadline. This maps out very specific goals and items that you can come back and revisit at your next meeting or through an email that lets you know that you're actually making progress, that there is something being accomplished and achieved during this meeting. So all of these different things are so very important because we have to meet, we have to communicate, but there are ways to do it to where it is effective. So I'm all about being effective, all about being proactive, and all about increasing positive communication and environment in these various ways for companies, organizations, ministries, and things like that. So if this video has helped you, make sure that you like it, make sure you love it, make sure you tell me what your favorite tip was and if it helped. And I look forward to empowering you. Make sure you visit our website at IamEmpowered.life to find out more about what it is that we do. We currently have our virtual assisting going on where we are here to specifically work with companies and organizations, helping to relieve some of the pressure, some of the admin tasks, and different things like that. So make sure you check out our website under our Empowering You tab so you can see how we can build you, your organization, your company, and your ministry up. So I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Be empowered. Bye.